A black waitress spent all her savings to save a beggar on the street, unaware the broken man was the lost father of a Korean mafia boss. The morning shift at River's Edge Diner started the same way it always did. Coffee brewing, griddle heating, the familiar rhythm of routine that Nia Monroe had come to both depend on and resent. 26 years old, pouring coffee for truckers and tourists passing through Portland, Oregon, watching her dreams of culinary school fade a little more with each passing month. She'd been saving for 3 years. Every tip, every extra shift, every dollar she could spare went into the envelope hidden in her apartment, marked Culinary Institute in her grandmother's looping handwriting. $12,000, not enough yet, but getting closer. 6 more months, maybe 8, and she could finally apply, finally pursue the career she'd dreamed about since she was a kid, watching her grandmother create magic in their tiny kitchen. "Nia, order up!" Carlos called from the kitchen, his voice cutting through her thoughts. "Got it!" She grabbed the plates, pancakes for table 3, eggs and hash for the corner booth, and delivered them with the practiced smile that came with 5 years of waitressing. Professional, friendly, forgettable. The smile that got decent tips and kept customers happy. The lunch rush came and went. Nia's feet ached in the comfortable but ugly shoes all servers eventually surrendered to. Her back protested from carrying heavy trays, but the tip jar was fuller than usual, and that meant another $50 toward her dream. At 2:47 p.m., during the afternoon lull when the diner held maybe 6 customers scattered across 20 tables, Nia finally got her break. She grabbed her purse, told Denise, the other server on shift, she'd be back in 15, and stepped out into the crisp October afternoon. Portland in fall was beautiful, trees turning gold and crimson, that particular quality of light that made everything look like a painting. Nia walked the 3 blocks to the bank, as she did every payday, to deposit her tips and add another small increment to her savings. That's when she saw him. An old man sat hunched against the brick wall of the closed bookstore, 3 buildings down from the bank. Korean, maybe 70, with silver hair matted and dirty. Clothes that might have been nice once, but were now torn and stained beyond recognition. He held a cardboard sign, but the words were smudged, illegible. Nia had lived in cities long enough to develop that urban armor. The ability to see homeless people without really seeing them, to feel sympathy without letting it slow her down. You couldn't stop for everyone. You couldn't help them all. If you tried, you'd go broke and accomplish nothing. But something about this man stopped her in her tracks. Maybe it was the way he sat, not defeated, but confused, like he didn't understand how he'd ended up here. Or maybe it was his hands clasped together and shaking slightly, the tremor of someone elderly and scared. Or maybe it was his eyes when he looked up at her passing, not the blank stare of chronic homelessness, but sharp awareness mixed with desperate confusion. Nia kept walking, made it another 10 steps, tried to tell herself she couldn't help everyone, that she had her own dreams to save for, that one person couldn't make a difference. But her grandmother's voice echoed in her head, as it often did. "Baby girl, we help when we can. That's what makes us human. That's what separates living from just surviving." Nia stopped, turned around, walked back to where the old man sat. "Sir?" Her voice came out gentler than she'd intended. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" He looked up at her, and the relief that flooded his face was so profound it made her chest ache. He spoke in Korean, rapid, urgent words she couldn't understand. "I'm sorry, I don't speak Korean," Nia said helplessly. "Do you speak English?" The man paused, seemed to gather himself. When he spoke again, his English was accented but clear. Please, I'm lost. I don't know how I got here. I don't know where I am. You're in Portland, Oregon. Do you know your name?" "Kim." He touched his head, confusion and frustration warring in his expression. "Kim, something. My memory, I can't remember. There was an accident, I think. Something happened, and now I can't." Nia crouched down to his level, professional crisis assessment kicking in. She'd done 2 years of nursing school before money ran out, enough to recognize signs of traumatic brain injury. "How long have you been out here?" "I don't know. Weeks? Months?" His hands shook harder. "I have a son. I know I have a son. I can see his face, but I can't remember his name. I can't remember where we lived. I can't remember how to find him." Tears tracked through the dirt on his face, and something in Nia's heart broke. This wasn't chronic homelessness. This was someone's father, someone's family, lost and scared and unable to find his way back. Okay, she said, making a decision that would change everything. Okay, Mr. Kim, let me help you. Have you eaten today? He shook his head. Then let's start there. Come with me. We'll get you some food and we'll figure out how to find your son. Nia offered her hand, helped him stand. He was taller than she'd realized, probably 6 feet, though he stooped with age and exhaustion. I have no money, he said quietly, ashamed. I can't pay you. I'm not asking you to. Nia kept her voice steady, even though her mind was already calculating. Food, maybe a hotel room for the night. Bus fare if they could track down his family. Come on, let's get you somewhere warm. She led him to a small cafe 3 blocks away. Not the diner where she worked, somewhere anonymous where her boss wouldn't see her bringing in a homeless man. The cafe staff gave them suspicious looks, but Nia ignored them, settling Mr. Kim at a corner table. Order whatever you want, she said, handing him the menu. He stared at it like the words wouldn't quite focus. What do I like? I can't remember what I like. The lost confusion in his voice squeezed Nia's heart. How about soup? Something warm and easy. And tea. Does that sound good? He nodded gratefully. Nia ordered for both of them. Chicken soup, grilled cheese, hot tea, comfort food that wouldn't overwhelm. And as they waited, she pulled out her phone. Tell me everything you remember, she said gently. About your son, about your life, anything. We'll piece it together. Mr. Kim closed his eyes, concentrating. My son, he's tall, serious. He has his mother's eyes. We lived in Seattle or San Francisco, somewhere with water, buildings. He pressed his hands to his temples. There was a business, something important. People respected us. But then what? I don't know, it's all fragments. Like a mirror broke in my mind and I only have pieces. Frustration edged his voice. A year ago, something happened. An accident. Violence. I remember blood. And then waking up in a hospital, but they didn't know who I was. I had no wallet, no identification. And by the time I could speak again, I couldn't remember who to call. The hospital didn't try to identify you? I left. I was confused, scared. Thought I could find my way home. But every street looked the same. Every city. I've been walking, trying to find something familiar. But nothing, his voice cracked. Nothing looks right. The food arrived. Nia watched Mr. Kim eat with the careful focus of someone relearning basic functions. His hands shook as he lifted the spoon, but he managed, and color slowly returned to his face. Better? She asked. Much better. Thank you. He looked at her with sharp awareness. You're very kind. Most people don't stop. Don't see. My grandmother taught me better. Nia pulled out her wallet, started calculating. She had $300 in cash. Today's deposit meant for her savings. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get you somewhere safe tonight. A hotel room, a shower, clean clothes. Then tomorrow we'll go to the police, see if anyone filed a missing person report. We'll check hospitals in Seattle and San Francisco for records of your treatment. We'll find your son. Mr. Kim stared at her. You would do this? For a stranger? You're somebody's father. Somebody is looking for you, missing you, scared for you. We're going to help them find you. Nia said it with more confidence than she felt, because the truth was her $300 wouldn't go far, and she had no idea if they'd actually succeed. But she'd started this. She'd stopped when she could have walked past. Now she had to see it through. I don't know how to thank you, Mr. Kim said quietly. Thank me when we find your family. They finished eating. Nia paid $32, leaving her with $268. She Googled budget hotels nearby, found one 6 blocks away that didn't look too sketchy, $60 a night. That left $208 for clothes, toiletries, and whatever else Mr. Kim needed. It was her savings, months of extra shifts and aching feet. But looking at this lost man, at the hope dawning in his eyes, Nia couldn't bring herself to regret it. Come on, she said, standing. Let's get you sorted. They walked slowly. Mr. Kim was unsteady on his feet, clearly exhausted. Nia matched his pace, one hand hovering near his elbow in case he stumbled. 3 blocks from the hotel, Mr. Kim suddenly stopped. That building, he said, pointing across the street to an upscale restaurant. I know that building. Or, no, not the building, but something about it. Nia looked. The restaurant was clearly expensive. Valet parking, suited doorman, the kind of place she'd never be able to afford. Have you been there before? I don't know. Maybe. He pressed his hand to his forehead. Sometimes things feel familiar, but I can't trust it. My brain plays tricks. That's okay. We'll figure it out. Nia gently guided him forward, one step at a time. They were passing the restaurant's entrance when everything changed. A black car pulled up to the valet, expensive, sleek, obviously someone important. The doorman rushed to open the door, bowing slightly, and a man stepped out. Korean, late 20s, tall and powerfully built, wearing a suit that probably cost more than Nia's car. He moved with the controlled grace of someone comfortable with violence, eyes constantly scanning, assessing threats. 2 other men flanked him, bodyguards clearly, watching the street with professional wariness. The man started toward the restaurant entrance, then froze mid-step. His head snapped around, eyes locking onto Mr. Kim with an intensity that made Nia's breath catch. For a heartbeat, nobody moved. The street noise, traffic, people, the city's constant hum, seemed to fade into background static. Then the man's face transformed. Shock, disbelief, joy, and anguish all crashing together in an expression so raw it hurt to witness. Abeoji, the word came out broken, barely above a whisper. Father. He moved fast, crossed the distance between them in seconds, and Nia instinctively stepped in front of Mr. Kim, protective instinct overriding common sense. But Mr. Kim pushed past her, hands reaching out with desperate recognition. My son. You're my son. Abeoji. The man pulled Mr. Kim into his arms, and the older man collapsed against him, sobbing with relief and recognition and a year's worth of fear and loneliness. Nia stood frozen, watching this reunion she didn't understand, her heart pounding with confusion and the sudden certainty that she'd stumbled into something much bigger than she'd realized. The man, Mr. Kim's son, held his father with a gentleness that seemed at odds with his dangerous appearance. He spoke in rapid Korean, voice breaking, and Mr. Kim answered in the same language, hands clutching at his son like he might disappear. The bodyguards had moved closer, forming a protective circle. One of them was on his phone, speaking urgently. The restaurant doorman watched with wide eyes but stayed back. After what felt like hours but was probably only a minute, Mr. Kim's son pulled back enough to look at his father's face. He touched the dirty clothes, the matted hair, and fury crossed his expression. Cold, controlled rage that made Nia's skin prickle with warning. He spoke in Korean again, gentle to his father, but with an undercurrent of barely leashed violence. Then his eyes found Nia, and she felt the weight of his full attention, like a physical thing. You, he said, switching to unaccented English. You're with my father? I found him, a few blocks from here. He was confused, couldn't remember where he lived. I was trying to help him find his family. Mr. Kim turned to his son, speaking in Korean with urgent gestures toward Nia. His son listened, expression shifting from fury to something softer, more complex. My father says you fed him, spent your own money. We're taking him to get a hotel room. He studied Nia with an intensity that made her want to look away but couldn't. Is this true? He needed help. I helped, that's all. That's all, he repeated, something that might have been wonder flickering across his face. He spoke to his father again in Korean, listened to a longer response, and his expression transformed, the dangerous edge softening into genuine gratitude mixed with something warmer. My father says you gave him hope, that you treated him with dignity when others walked past, that you were going to help him find me. His voice was thick with emotion. Do you have any idea what that means? What you've given back to me? Nia shifted uncomfortably. Anyone would have... No, not anyone. Most people would have ignored him, walked past, maybe called social services if they were feeling particularly charitable. He took a step closer, and Nia fought the urge to step back. You stopped. You spent your own money. You were willing to spend more. Why? Because he's somebody's father. Because he was lost and scared. Because... Nia met his eyes directly. Because that's what decent people do. Something shifted in his expression. Not just gratitude now, but recognition, respect, and beneath that, interest. The kind that made Nia's pulse quicken despite the situation. What's your name? Nia. Nia Monroe. Nia Monroe? He said it carefully, like committing it to memory. My name is Kim Sung-ho, and you've just given me back everything I thought I'd lost. One of the bodyguards approached, speaking urgent Korean. Sung-ho nodded, then turned back to Nia. My father needs medical attention. I'm taking him to a private facility where they can treat him properly, help with his memory issues. His eyes held hers. I owe you a debt, a significant debt. Please tell me how I can repay you. You don't owe me anything. I'm just glad you found each other. Nia Monroe. The way he said her name made it sound like music. You spent your savings to help a stranger. The least I can do is replace what you gave. How much? Heat flooded Nia's cheeks. I don't want your money. That's not why I helped. I know. That's precisely why I want to give it to you. Sung-ho pulled out his wallet, leather, expensive, probably designer, and extracted a stack of bills. Please, let me do this small thing. Small? That's like $2,000. Is it? He didn't even look at the money. Then take it. You've earned it and more. I can't just take $2,000 from a stranger. I'm not a stranger. I'm a man whose father you saved, who you treated with kindness when he had nothing, who you were willing to bankrupt yourself to help. Sung-ho's voice intensified. Please, Nia, let me repay even a fraction of what you've given me. Mr. Kim spoke up then, in English this time. Please, miss, take it. My son can afford it, and you deserve it for your kindness. Nia looked between them, father and son reunited, both looking at her with gratitude and something more. Logic said, take the money. Pride said, refuse. But her grandmother's voice whispered, sometimes accepting help is its own kind of grace. Okay, she said quietly. Thank you. Sung-ho handed her the money, and when their fingers brushed, electricity sparked up Nia's arm. His eyes darkened, and she knew he felt it too. This unexpected connection, this pull that had nothing to do with debts owed and everything to do with something neither of them had anticipated. I need your contact information, Sung-ho said, to properly thank you, to keep you updated on my father's recovery, if that's acceptable. Nia should have said no, should have taken the money and walked away. Let this be a beautiful moment of helping someone without complication. But looking at Sung-ho, at the way he held his father, at the gratitude and interest warming his eyes, she found herself nodding. Okay, yeah, I'd like to know how he's doing. She gave him her number. He entered it into his phone with careful attention, then looked at her with an intensity that made her breath catch. Thank you, Nia Monroe, for seeing my father when others looked away, for giving him hope when he'd lost everything, for being exactly the kind of person I've spent my life trying to find and protect. His smile was soft, genuine. I'll call you soon to properly express my gratitude, if you'll allow it. Okay, yes. Mr. Kim reached out, took Nia's hand in his trembling one. Thank you, daughter of my heart. You saved me. May heaven bless you for your kindness. Tears stung Nia's eyes. I'm just glad you're going home. Sung-ho guided his father toward the waiting car, bodyguards moving with them. But at the door, he looked back at Nia one more time, and the promise in that look made her heart race. This wasn't over. Whatever had just started between them, unexpected, impossible, electric, was just beginning. The car pulled away and Nia stood on the sidewalk, holding $2,000 and the certainty that her life had just changed in ways she couldn't begin to understand. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Thank you for everything. I'll call tomorrow. Sung-ho. And Nia found herself smiling, even as her practical mind screamed that getting involved with someone like Kim. Sung-ho, clearly wealthy, clearly powerful, clearly dangerous, was the worst idea she'd ever had. But sometimes the worst ideas were the ones worth taking. Nia walked back to the diner in a daze, the money in her purse feeling both heavy and surreal. $2,000, more than she'd make in tips in 3 months. But it wasn't the money that made her hands shake. It was the memory of dark eyes looking at her like she was precious, like she mattered in a way that had nothing to do with what she'd done and everything to do with who she was. Girl, where have you been? Denise ambushed her the moment she walked through the door. Your 15 minutes turned into 45. Rick is pissed. I'm sorry, something happened. I'll make it up. You better. Table 6 has been waiting for refills for 20 minutes. But Denise's expression softened when she saw Nia's face. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. Not a ghost. Just, I helped someone. And it turned into something I wasn't expecting. Nia made it through the rest of her shift on autopilot, pouring coffee and taking orders while her mind replayed the afternoon on loop. Kim Sung-ho holding his father. The way he looked at her. The promise in his voice when he said he'd call. At home that night, in her tiny studio apartment with its peeling paint and temperamental radiator, Nia counted the money again. $2,000. She should deposit it, add it to her culinary school fund. That was the smart thing. Instead, she found herself Googling Kim Sung-ho Portland. The results made her blood run cold. Kim Sung-ho wasn't just wealthy. He was the head of the Kim family organization, Korean organized crime operating out of Seattle and Portland, money laundering, protection rackets, smuggling. The articles used words like dangerous, ruthless, feared. There were photos too. Sung-ho at charity events, always in expensive suits, always surrounded by men who were clearly security. Sung-ho leaving courtrooms, charges never sticking. Sung-ho at his father's memorial service a year ago. Memorial service. Nia clicked on that article, read it 3 times. Kim Jae-won, patriarch of the Kim family, had disappeared a year ago following what witnesses described as a violent ambush. No body was ever found. He was declared legally dead after 6 months, leaving his son Sung-ho to take over complete control of the organization. Except Kim Jae-won wasn't dead. He'd been alive all this time, lost and confused and living on the streets while his son searched for him. Oh God, Nia breathed. What did I get myself into? Her phone rang, making her jump. Unknown number. Her heart hammered as she answered. Nia, it's Sung-ho. I hope I'm not calling too late. His voice was different than this afternoon. Warmer, less controlled. Like he was finally allowing himself to feel the relief of finding his father. No, it's fine. How is he? Your father? Stable. The doctors are running tests, but it looks like traumatic brain injury from the ambush last year, combined with a severe concussion and possible amnesia from the trauma. But physically, he's going to recover, and his memory seems to be coming back in pieces. That's good. Nia hesitated. Sung-ho, I have to ask. I looked you up. Silence on the other end. Then softly. I figured you might. And you're not what I expected. Organized crime, Sung-ho? I won't lie to you. Yes, I run my family's organization. Have since my father disappeared. His voice was calm, matter of fact. Does that scare you? Yes, it terrifies me. Nia took a deep breath. I don't know anything about that world. I'm a waitress from Atlanta who dreams of culinary school. I don't belong anywhere near people like you. People like me, he said it quietly. You might be surprised. My father was a good man, Nia. Still is. He built what we have to protect our community when no one else would. And I've tried to honor that, even as the world has gotten more complicated. I don't know if I can. Don't decide now. His voice was gentle. Just meet me. Let me thank you properly. Explain my world. And then if you decide you want nothing to do with me, I'll understand. I'll leave you alone. Nia's heart pounded. Every logical part of her screamed to say no, to take the money and run, to forget this ever happened. But the part of her that remembered the way he'd looked at his father, the part that felt that electric spark when their hands touched, that part whispered yes. Okay, one meeting, just to talk. Thank you. Tomorrow? Dinner? Nia closed her eyes. Okay, tomorrow. The next evening, Sung-ho picked her up in a car that cost more than her yearly salary. The driver opened the door for her, and Nia slid into leather seats that smelled expensive and foreign. Sung-ho was already inside, and when he saw her, his expression transformed. You look beautiful. Nia had agonized over what to wear, finally settling on a simple black dress she'd bought on clearance years ago. Next to Sung-ho's perfectly tailored suit, she felt underdressed, but the way he looked at her made her feel like the most beautiful woman in the world. Thank you. You clean up pretty well yourself. He smiled, genuine warmth that made him look younger, less dangerous. How was your day? Long, busy. I kept thinking about your father. Is he doing better? Much better. The doctors say his memory should return gradually over the next few weeks. Already he's remembering more. Our home in Seattle, specific events from before the ambush. Sung-ho's voice was thick with emotion. This morning he called me by my childhood nickname, first time in a year. That's wonderful. It's because of you. Sung-ho turned to face her fully. Nia, do you understand what you gave me? I spent a year searching, hired private investigators, offered rewards, checked every hospital and morgue in the Pacific Northwest. And I was starting to accept that he was really gone, that I'd never know what happened. But he wasn't gone. No, he was 3 blocks away from a restaurant I was meeting contacts at. 3 blocks. I could have walked past him a dozen times and never known. His jaw clenched. But you stopped. You saw him. You saved him. I just did what anyone... Stop saying that. Sung-ho's voice was firm but gentle. Stop diminishing what you did. It wasn't just anything. It was extraordinary. It was selfless. It was exactly the kind of goodness I've spent my life trying to protect and rarely finding. Heat flooded Nia's face. You barely know me. Then let me change that. Tell me about yourself. Real things. Who is Nia Monroe when she's not saving strangers? And somehow, in the back of that expensive car driving through Portland's evening streets, Nia found herself talking about growing up in Atlanta with her grandmother after her parents died in a car crash, about discovering her love of cooking in that tiny kitchen, about the way her grandmother could make magic out of whatever cheap ingredients they could afford, about her dreams of culinary school, of opening her own restaurant someday, of creating the kind of food that brought people together and made them feel loved, about 3 years of saving every penny, of watching that dream inch closer, but never quite arriving. Why haven't you applied yet? Sung-ho asked. If you've been saving for 3 years? Because it's expensive. The program I want is $18,000 for the full course. I had $12,000 saved until yesterday. Sung-ho's expression shifted. Until yesterday? When you spent it on my father? I spent $300, not $12,000. I still have most of it. But you were willing to spend more. You told him you'd get him a hotel room, clothes, help him find his family. How much would that have cost? Nia looked away. However much it took. You were going to bankrupt your dreams to help a stranger. Sung-ho's voice was filled with wonder and something that sounded like awe. Do you even understand how rare that is? Or how stupid, Nia muttered. Not stupid. Never stupid. He took her hand gently. Noble, selfless, everything this world needs more of. The car pulled up to a restaurant, upscale but not ostentatious, with warm lighting and the kind of atmosphere that whispered intimacy rather than shouting wealth. Inside, they were led to a private corner table. Sung-ho ordered in flawless Korean, then turned his attention fully to Nia. You said you wanted honesty. Questions answered. Ask me anything. Nia took a breath. What happened to your father? The ambush. Sung-ho's expression hardened. Rival organization. The Choi family out of Vancouver. They've been trying to move into our territory for years. Last year, they arranged a meeting, supposedly to negotiate boundaries. It was a trap. They ambushed my father's car, killed 2 of his guards, shot him in the head, and left him for dead. Oh my God. Somehow he survived, crawled away, or was found by someone who got him to a hospital. But with no ID in his injuries, he became just another John Doe. By the time he could speak, the amnesia had set in. He couldn't tell them who he was. Sung-ho's hands clenched. And I couldn't find him because I was looking for a body, not a living man who couldn't remember his own name. The Choi family. What happened to them? Sung-ho met her eyes directly. They paid for what they did. I made sure of that. The cold certainty in his voice made Nia shiver. You killed them. I did what was necessary to protect my family and send a message that such attacks won't be tolerated. No apology, no justification, just fact. And that's your world. Violence and revenge and protection and loyalty and taking care of people who can't take care of themselves. Sung-ho leaned forward. Nia, I'm not going to pretend I'm a good man. I've done things that would horrify you, but I operate by a code. I protect my people. I keep my word, and I never hurt innocents. That's supposed to make me feel better? It's supposed to be honest. You asked for truth. That's the truth. I'm a criminal. I run an organization built on illegal operations, but I'm also trying to transition us toward legitimate business. It's slow, complicated work, but I'm committed to it. Why? Why change if you're as successful as you are? Sung-ho was quiet for a moment. Because my father wanted better for me, for our family. He built the organization to survive, to protect our community when no one else would. But he always said it was temporary, that someday we'd be legitimate, respectable. When he disappeared, I made a promise to myself. If I ever found him, I'd finally make that transition. Honor what he wanted, not just what he built. And now you found him. Thanks to me. Thanks to you, he agreed softly, which is another reason I'm drawn to you, Nia. You represent everything I'm trying to move toward. Goodness without calculation. Kindness without expecting return. The kind of person I want in my life as I try to become better. That's a lot of pressure to put on someone you just met. I know, I'm sorry, but I'm also not sorry because... He stopped himself. Tell me more about your culinary dreams. What kind of restaurant would you open? The subject change was deliberate, giving her space to breathe. And Nia found herself grateful for it, launching into descriptions of her dream restaurant. Southern soul food elevated to fine dining, her grandmother's recipes reimagined, a place that felt like home and tasted like love. Sung-ho listened with complete attention, asking questions, genuinely interested. And slowly Nia felt herself relaxing, letting her guard down despite every warning her brain kept sending. Dinner arrived, multiple courses, each more delicious than the last. Nia moaned at the first bite of perfectly seared scallops, and Sung-ho's eyes darkened. You appreciate good food. I appreciate food, period. But this, she gestured at the plate, this is art. You could create this, with training, with the right resources. Someday, if I ever save enough. Sung-ho set down his fork. What if you didn't have to wait? What if I paid for your culinary school? Nia's stomach dropped. What? No, absolutely not. Why not? You gave up your savings to help my father. Let me help you pursue your dreams. That's not the same thing. I helped a person in need. You'd be, what? Buying me? Putting me in your debt? Hurt flashed across Sung-ho's face. Is that what you think? That I'm trying to buy you? I don't know what to think. We just met, and you're offering to pay $18,000 for my education. That's not normal, Sung-ho. That's not how things work. Maybe it's not how things work in your world, but in mine, when someone saves the most important person in your life, you show gratitude in meaningful ways. His voice intensified. Nia, that $2,000 I gave you yesterday, that's nothing. Pocket change. What you did, saving my father, giving me back my family, that's priceless. Let me do this. Please. And what would you expect in return? Nothing. Your friendship if you're willing to give it. But no obligations, no strings, no expectations beyond that. Nia wanted to believe him, wanted to accept the offer and finally pursue her dreams. But something held her back. Pride, maybe, or fear of owing someone like him. I need to think about it, she said finally. Sung-ho nodded, disappointment flickering across his face but accepting. Of course. Take all the time you need. They finished dinner with easier conversation, Nia asking about his childhood in Seattle, Sung-ho sharing stories of his mother who died when he was 12, both of them carefully avoiding the dangerous topics of his business and her growing attraction to him. In the car afterward, Sung-ho turned to her. Can I see you again? Not just dinner, maybe show you Seattle, introduce you to my father properly when he's feeling better. Let you see that I'm more than just the criminal you Googled. Sung-ho. I know it's complicated. I know I'm dangerous. I know you should probably run far and fast. His hand found hers. But I'm asking anyway, because Nia Monroe in one afternoon, you reminded me that goodness exists, that people can be selfless, that I'm not just fighting to protect criminals and criminal interests, I'm protecting people like you. Good people who deserve better. You're very smooth for a gangster. I'm very honest for anyone. He squeezed her hand gently. So? Will you give me another chance? Let me show you who I am beyond the reputation? Nia knew she should say no. Knew getting deeper into this was stupid and potentially dangerous. But looking at Sung Ho, at the hope and vulnerability in his eyes, she found herself nodding. Okay, but slow. We take this slow. His smile was brilliant. As slow as you need. Thank you. He walked her to her apartment door, a perfect gentleman, and when he said goodnight, Nia felt his reluctance to leave like a physical thing. Sleep well, Nia Monroe, and think about my offer, about culinary school. I meant every word. Then he was gone, and Nia was left standing in her tiny apartment, heart racing, mind spinning, wondering how her life had become a drama she didn't know how to navigate. 3 days passed. 3 days during which Sung Ho texted her every morning. Nothing pushy, just sweet check-ins. Good morning. I hope your shift goes smoothly. Thinking of you. My father asked about you today. There's a farmer's market on Saturday. Would you like to go? 3 days during which Nia tried to focus on work, on her normal life, while her thoughts kept drifting to dark eyes and a voice that made promises she wanted to believe. On the 4th day, Sung Ho called. My father is asking to see you. To thank you properly, would you come to Seattle? I'll send a car, cover all your expenses. Just, please. It would mean everything to him. Nia should have said no, but the hope in his voice, the knowledge that Mr. Kim wanted to see her, she found herself agreeing. The drive to Seattle took 3 hours. The driver, professional, polite, clearly security, picked her up Saturday morning. Nia spent the entire ride second, guessing herself, Google searching the Kim family organization, reading articles that detailed exactly how dangerous Sung Ho's world was. They pulled up to an estate in an exclusive Seattle neighborhood, the kind of place Nia had only seen in magazines. Gates, security, gardens that probably cost more to maintain than her yearly salary. Sung Ho met her at the door, and the relief on his face was so genuine it made her chest ache. You came, I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't. This is terrifying, Sung Ho. I know, but you're safe here, I promise. He led her inside. Beautiful home, tastefully decorated, but warm rather than cold. Photos everywhere of Sung Ho and his father, of his mother who died years ago. Mr. Kim was in the living room, dressed in comfortable clothes, looking 1,000 times better than when Nia had found him. He stood when she entered, and his smile was brilliant. Nia, my savior! He moved forward, took her hands in his. Thank you for coming. I've wanted to thank you properly, but Sung Ho said you were scared, that I should give you time. I'm not scared of you, Nia clarified. Your world is very different from mine. My world is complicated, Mr. Kim agreed, but my son is good, better than I ever was, and he cares about you very much. Even a blind man could see it. Heat flooded Nia's face. Sung Ho looked equally embarrassed. Abaoji, perhaps we should let Nia settle in before we embarrass her. Mr. Kim laughed. Forgiven, old man. I'm just happy. Happier than I've been in a year. And it's thanks to you. His expression grew serious. Nia, my son told me what you gave up to help me. Your savings, your dreams. I cannot adequately express how that humbles me. I didn't give up my dreams. I just postponed them. You shouldn't have to postpone anything, Sung Ho said quietly, which is why I arranged something. If you're willing to accept it. Nia's stomach dropped. Sung Ho, just look, please, then decide. He led her to the study, pulled out a folder. Inside was an acceptance letter to the culinary institute she dreamed about, and a receipt showing full tuition paid. What did you do? Nia's voice came out strangled. I called them, explained the situation, that a remarkable woman had given up her savings to help a stranger, and I wanted to make sure her dreams didn't suffer for her kindness. They were moved by your story, accepted you on the spot, and I paid the tuition, full program plus living expenses. Nia's hands shook as she held the papers. $18,000 plus living expenses, maybe $30,000 total, just given to her. I can't accept this. Yes, you can, Mr. Kim said from the doorway, and you will. Nia, my life is worth more than $30,000. You gave it back to me. Let us give you your dreams. But I don't even know you. And accepting this much, it's too much. It puts me in your debt, and No debt, Sung-ho interrupted firmly. No obligations, just gratitude from a son who has his father back because of you. Tears stung Nia's eyes. Why? Why do you care so much? Sung-ho stepped closer, close enough that she could feel his warmth. Because the world needs more people like you. People who help without calculating cost. People who see someone suffering and act instead of walking past. And because, he stopped himself. Because what? Because I'm falling for you, he admitted quietly. And I want to be worthy of someone that good, someone that extraordinary. Helping you achieve your dreams is the least I can do. Nia's breath caught. You can't just say things like that. Why not? It's true. I've been trying to fight it, trying to give you space, but Nia, the moment I saw you standing between my father and the world, protecting a stranger without hesitation, I was lost. And every conversation since has only made it worse. Worse, worse, better, more intense. He reached up, cupped her face gently. I know it's fast. I know you barely know me, but I need you to understand, I'm not offering this to buy you or obligate you. I'm offering it because you deserve it, because you sacrificed for my family, and I want to give you back your dreams. And if I say yes, if I accept, what then? Then you go to culinary school, pursue your dreams, and hopefully, if you're willing, you let me be part of your life while you do it. Not because you owe me, because you want to. Nia looked at the acceptance letter, at the receipt, at this impossible gift from an impossible man. Every logical bone in her body screamed danger, complication, strings attached. But her heart whispered something different, whispered about second chances and dreams finally within reach, and a man who looked at her like she hung the moon. Okay, she said quietly. Sung-ho's eyes widened. Okay? I'll accept. The tuition, the program, all of it. She met his gaze directly. But Sung-ho, I need you to understand. I'm accepting because you're right. I do deserve this. Not because you're paying for it, but because I worked hard and I gave up something meaningful to help someone in need. This isn't about you buying me or me owing you. It's about accepting help when it's offered genuinely. His smile was brilliant, transforming his whole face. Exactly. That's exactly it. But, Nia continued, this doesn't mean we're together. This doesn't mean I'm jumping into a relationship with you. We're taking this slow, remember? As slow as you need, Sung-ho agreed, though I reserve the right to pursue you shamelessly while we go slow. Despite herself, Nia laughed. You're impossible. I'm determined. There's a difference. Mr. Kim appeared with champagne, despite it being barely noon. We celebrate my son's happiness, Nia's dreams, family reunited. And somehow drinking champagne in a crime boss's mansion while his father toasted to new beginnings, Nia felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Real, genuine hope that her life could be more than just surviving. That dreams could actually come true. That maybe, just maybe, taking a risk on someone complicated and dangerous and absolutely devoted could lead somewhere beautiful. The next 2 months passed in a blur of preparation and growing closeness. Nia gave notice at the diner. Rick was disappointed but understanding, especially when she vaguely mentioned a scholarship opportunity. She began packing for her move to the culinary program, which started in January. And she saw Sung-ho a lot. He drove down to Portland every week, sometimes twice a week, taking her to dinner, to museums, to the waterfront to watch the sunset. He learned what she liked: good coffee, used bookstores, live jazz, and made sure she experienced the best Seattle had to offer. He also introduced her to his world, bit by bit, showed her the legitimate businesses he was building: restaurants, import companies, real estate developments. Let her see his vision for transitioning the family away from crime and toward respectability. It's slow work, he admitted one evening as they walked along the waterfront. Some of my people resist change, and rivals see transition as weakness. Is it weakness? Not if I'm smart about it. Not if I build something strong enough that we don't need the criminal operations to survive. He took her hand. Having you in my life makes me want to accelerate that timeline. Makes me want to be someone you can be proud of. I'm already proud of you, for trying, for wanting better. Sung-ho stopped walking, turned to face her. Nia Monroe, you're extraordinary. Do you know that? She'd heard him say it before, but tonight it felt different, weighted with something deeper. I'm really not. He kissed her, gentle, asking permission, giving her every chance to pull away. And Nia found herself kissing back, melting into him, finally giving in to the attraction that had been building since that first afternoon. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Sung-ho rested his forehead against hers. I'm falling in love with you, probably already have fallen, and I needed you to know. Nia's heart raced. That's not slow. I know, but it's honest, and you asked for honesty. His thumb brushed across her cheek. You don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know where I stand. I'm scared, Nia admitted. Your world is dangerous, your life is complicated, and I'm just starting mine. Culinary school, new dreams. I don't know if I can handle all of this. Then don't. Not yet. Just let me be here. Let me support you while you pursue your dreams. And if someday you decide you want more, want us to be something real, I'll be waiting. And if I decide I don't, if this is too much, pain flashed across his face, but he managed to smile. Then I'll step back. Let you go, because your happiness matters more than my wants. Nia didn't believe that for a second, but she appreciated the sentiment. Christmas came. Sung-ho invited her to spend it with his family, just him and his father, quiet and intimate. Nia almost said no, almost went back to Atlanta to visit her grandmother's grave like she did every year. But Mr. Kim called personally. Please, Nia, you gave me back my life. Let me share this first holiday in a year with the woman who made it possible. So she went, spent Christmas in Seattle, in that beautiful home, cooking alongside Mr. Kim, who turned out to be talented in the kitchen himself. They made traditional Korean dishes mixed with the Southern soul food Nia had learned from her grandmother, a fusion that was messy and imperfect, and absolutely delicious. Sung-ho watched them cook with such open affection, it made Nia's chest ache. What? She asked, catching his expression. Nothing, just happiness, real happiness. I'd forgotten what this felt like. January arrived, and with it, culinary school. Sung-ho helped her move into student housing, modest but clean, nothing like his mansion but perfect for her needs. He stocked her kitchen with high-end equipment she'd never dreamed of owning. Sung-ho, this is too much. Again, it's an investment in the best chef Seattle's going to have. Completely selfish, actually. I'm hoping you'll cook for me. The program was intense. 12-hour days, constant pressure, learning techniques she'd only read about. But Nia thrived. This was what she was meant to do, what she dreamed about for years. And Sung-ho was there for all of it, showing up with coffee when she had early classes, letting her practice new recipes on him, celebrating every small victory. But in March, reality crashed back in. Nia was walking back to her apartment after a late class when she noticed the car following her. Black SUV, tinted windows, moving too slowly. Her heart hammered as she quickened her pace, pulling out her phone. The SUV pulled alongside her, and the window rolled down. An Asian man she didn't recognize leaned out. Nia Monroe, we need to talk. About Kim Sung-ho. Fear spiked through her, but she kept walking. I have nothing to say to you. We know about you and Sung-ho. Know that he's paying for your school. Know that you found his father. The man's smile was cold. That makes you valuable. Makes you leverage. Nia ran, printed toward the populated area ahead. Phone already dialing Sung-ho's number with shaking hands. He answered on the first ring. Nia? Someone's following me. Black SUV. They mentioned you and your father and leverage. Where are you? His voice went deadly calm. She gave him the intersection, still running, and Sung-ho was already shouting orders to someone in the background. Keep running toward people. Stay on the phone. My people are 5 minutes away. The SUV kept pace with her. 2 more men got out, started walking toward her with purposeful strides. Then another car appeared. One of Sung-ho's. She recognized the driver. He screeched to a stop between Nia and her pursuers, and 3 men got out, creating a barrier. Rapid Koreans shouted across the street. Threats exchanged. And then the rival men retreated, climbing back into their SUV and driving away. Nia, are you okay? Sung-ho's voice was frantic. I'm okay. Your people are here. They stopped them. Get in the car. They'll bring you to me. Now. 20 minutes later, Nia was in Sung Ho's Seattle office. Secured building, multiple security checkpoints, the center of his operations. He pulled her into his arms the moment she walked through the door, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. "I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. This is my fault." "Who were they?" "The Choi family. Same ones who tried to kill my father. They're making a move against me, and they think you're my weakness." His voice was shaking with barely controlled rage. "They're right, you are. And now you're in danger because of me." Nia pulled back to look at him. "What are you going to do?" "End this, permanently. They threatened you, which means they've crossed a line they can't come back from." "Sung Ho." "No. Don't ask me to be reasonable about this. Don't ask me to show mercy." His eyes were dark with fury. "They came after you. That's unforgivable. I don't want you to kill people because of me. Then what do you want? For me to let them threaten you? Let them use you to get to me?" He gripped her shoulders. "Nia, I told you my world was dangerous. This is what that means. People who want to hurt me will target what I love. And I love you, which makes you a target. You can't just say you love me in the middle of a crisis. I can and I am, because it's true and because you need to understand the stakes." His forehead pressed to hers. "I love you, Nia Monroe, and I will protect you with everything I have, even if that means doing things you'll hate me for. I could never hate you. You might. After this." He pulled back, called out orders in Korean. His men scattered, moving with military precision. "What are you doing?" "Starting a war to end one." He looked at her, eyes pleading. "Stay here. Let me handle this. And when it's over, if you still want me, I'll be waiting." "Sung Ho." But he was already moving, already shifting into the man she'd only glimpsed. The crime boss, the leader, the dangerous force that kept his family safe. And Nia was left in that office, surrounded by security, wondering if the man she'd fallen for would come back, or if he'd be consumed by the violence his world demanded. 3 days. 3 days during which Nia stayed in Sung Ho's secure apartment, protected by rotating guards, while he waged war against the Choi family. Mr. Kim stayed with her, keeping her company, telling her stories about Sung Ho as a child. He was always protective, even as a little boy, would fight anyone who threatened his friends, his family. Some people are born to protect. My son is one of them. Even if protecting means violence, especially then. "Nia, I know this world is frightening. I know my son's methods are harsh, but you need to understand, every terrible thing he does to protect good people from worse things. That doesn't make it right. No, but it makes it necessary." Mr. Kim took her hand. "You're good for him. You make him want to be better. But you also need to accept who he is right now. Can you do that?" Nia didn't know. Spent 3 days wrestling with that question, with the knowledge that the man she loved was out there doing things that would horrify her, all to keep her safe. On the 4th day, Sung Ho came home. He looked exhausted, older somehow, but whole, alive. When he saw Nia, relief flooded his face. "It's over. The Choi family has been neutralized. They won't threaten you again. Won't threaten anyone again. Neutralized. That's a nice word for what you did." "I did what was necessary. I won't apologize for that." Nia stood, walked to him, looked up at this complicated, dangerous, devoted man. "How many people died?" 7. All people who'd actively participated in attacking my father or threatening you. Not innocents. And that's supposed to make me feel better? No, it's supposed to be honest. I told you I'd always be honest with you." He cupped her face. "Nia, if this is too much, if you can't accept what I am, what I've done, I'll understand. I'll walk away. Make sure you're protected, but stay out of your life." "I don't want you to walk away." Hope flickered in his eyes. "No? No. I want you to keep your promise. The one about transitioning away from this, about building something legitimate, about being better." Nia's voice strengthened. "I can accept what you did, protecting me, protecting your family, but Sung Ho, I can't build a life with someone who solves every problem with violence. I need you to actually change." "I will. I am." He pulled out papers, contracts, business plans. "I've been working on this for months, selling off the criminal operations to rivals who will run them, while I transition the family to completely legitimate business. Real estate, restaurants, import-export with proper licensing. It'll take 2 more years to complete the transition, but I'm committed. 2 years. Maybe less if I push harder. But Nia, I'm doing this. Not just for you, for myself, for my father, for the future I want. You've shown me that life can be more than just surviving. I want that. Want to build something I can be proud of. Nia looked at the plans, at the genuine hope in his eyes, and made her choice. Okay, 2 years. I'll finish culinary school. You'll finish transitioning, and we'll build something together. A life that's complicated but good. Sung-ho's smile was brilliant. He pulled her into his arms, kissed her deeply, and whispered against her lips, I love you, Nia Monroe. Thank you for not giving up on me. I love you too. You impossible, dangerous, wonderful man. 2 years passed. 2 years during which Nia finished culinary school at the top of her class. 2 years during which Sung-ho kept his promise, systematically transitioning the Kim family operations toward legitimate business. There were setbacks, rivals who tested boundaries, members of his own organization who resisted change, moments when violence seemed like the only option. But Sung-ho held firm, and Nia was there beside him, not part of his business, but supporting his vision, reminding him why he was fighting to be better. On graduation day, Sung-ho and Mr. Kim sat in the front row, applauding louder than anyone as Nia received her degree. And afterward, Sung-ho took her to dinner at the restaurant that had become their place. I have a proposal, he said over dessert. Business first, then personal. I'm listening. I want to open a restaurant, high-end, fusion cuisine, headed by the most talented chef in Seattle. You. He pulled out plans. Beautiful space, fully equipped kitchen, everything she dreamed of. Your restaurant, your vision, my investment. Nia's breath caught. Sung-ho. Partners, equal partners. You bring the talent and vision, I bring the business infrastructure and capital. We build something together. That's my dream. Exactly my dream. I know, I've been listening. He smiled. So, partners? Partners? Yes, absolutely yes. Good. Now for the personal proposal. Sung-ho stood, moved around the table, and dropped to one knee. Nia's heart stopped. Nia Monroe, 2 years ago, you saved my father's life and gave me back everything I thought I'd lost. You've stood by me through transformation and violence and complicated choices. You've made me want to be better, made me believe I could be better, and I love you more than I knew was possible to love someone. He pulled out a ring, beautiful, elegant, perfect. Will you marry me? Build a life with me? Let me spend the rest of my years proving I'm worthy of the woman who saw a stranger suffering and gave everything to help? Tears streamed down Nia's face. Yes. God, yes. You complicated, wonderful man. Yes. Sung-ho slipped the ring on her finger, stood, pulled her into his arms. And as they kissed, Nia thought about that afternoon 2 years ago, about stopping for a stranger, about spending her savings, about taking a risk that had changed everything. I love you, she whispered. I love you more. Though we can argue about that for the next 50 years. 50 years? At minimum. I'm planning on spending forever proving how grateful I am that you stopped that day, that you saw my father, that you gave me back my family and showed me how to build a life worth living. Mr. Kim appeared then. Nia suspected he'd been waiting nearby and pulled them both into a hug. My children, my beautiful children, building something good from something broken. Your grandmother would be proud, he said to Nia.